Back to Miller. Oh, my goodness.
Herbert, sidearm sling, and it's a touchdown.
Tyrese Maxey.
Oh, good spin move by Filipowski for the news. Give him 9.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Beef Up Front podcast here on Pick Swap Media. Your host, Ryan Coyle, joined by Kevin Cannon for our weekly show, NFL Big Five Games of the Week, previewing the biggest 5 games on the NFL schedule for this upcoming slate. Week 13 already. We'll have December football this weekend. As we always say, it's just crazy once the season gets here, how fast it goes. But as always, Kev, welcome back, and how are we?
Great. A lot of good games this weekend. A lot of big playoff implications as well. So it should be fun.
Yeah, we have some pretty big-time matchups that we're going to get into. We got Seahawks, Cowboys on Thursday. That's a very important game in the NFC. The game of the weekend with the Eagles, the 49ers. It's a shame that Burrow got hurt. We would have had Jags, Bengals on the Monday night slate this week. But still, a lot of big games. And then we're at the point of the year where every game on the show pretty much matters towards your playoff seeding, whether you're going to make the playoffs or not. So this is the time of the year where we get down to crunch time, and we really have had to pick some winners here on the show. But we'll start it off on Thursday night. Hopefully one of the better Thursday night games we get so far this season. It's been a pretty disappointing year on Thursday night, as always. But you got the 6-5 Seahawks kind of in a bit of desperation mode as they've been struggling a little bit, and they have a tough stretch coming up. They'll be going to Dallas to play the 8-3 Cowboys, coming off that big-time win on Thanksgiving, 8:15 on Thursday Night Football on Amazon. Cowboys are an 8.5-point favorite. Over-under is 46.5. Do you think the Cowboys will continue to roll at home here, Kev?
Yeah, I think they will, winning pretty big by 10. Cowboys 31, Seahawks 21. So the Cowboys covering the 8.5 they're getting, and the over of 46.5 hidden. It's starting to look more like Geno's season last year was more of a one-hit wonder than who he truly is. He hasn't played horrible this year, but he's just not living up to the performance that he delivered last year. He still has a ton of talent around him with DK, Smith-Njigba, and Lockett, but the O-line has been disappointing as well this year, and I think Dallas is going to be able to pressure Geno all day, and that could lead to potentially at least one turnover. And then Dak and the offense are going to do what they do at home against a pretty average Seahawks defense. Dallas is great at home. They've outscored opponents 205-60 in games at home this year in Arlington. I think Dak has a great day here, and the Cowboys continue to keep themselves in the NFC East battle and in contention for a first-round bye still.
Yeah, Kev, I agree with you that with the Geno thing. That was my big thing with them re-signing him this offseason, was like, I wouldn't give him too much money, too many years, because what we've seen from him in the past last year was looking like an outlier. And this year, I think that's kind of coming to fruition. Only 12 touchdowns, 8 interceptions on the season. And with all those good pass catching options and a really good running back in Kenneth Walker, this offense should be a lot better than it's been. And he's just looking more and more like a kind of backup quarterback. We kind of saw it last night with Josh Dobbs as well, where flash in the pan, had some really nice games. But then you look at the end of the day, he's a backup quarterback, and I think he's just going to be good in spot starts. If Geno wants to keep playing like that's all for him. He'll have a job as long as he wants to as a backup, I think. But going forward, I think the Seahawks are going to need a better quarterback if they want to win these big-time games. Cowboys are rolling right now, like your stat said, in outscoring their opponents at home 205-60. That's pretty wild. They're 5-0 at home this year, and dating back to last year, the Cowboys have won 13 straight games at home. Dallas has also scored 30 or more in every home game this season and are averaging 41 points per game at home this year. So if they beat the Seahawks this year in this game, though, it will be their only win this year against a team that is 500 or better. I believe the rest of the way they have it is the Seahawks in this game, the Eagles, the Bills, the Dolphins, Dolphins and Lions the rest of the way. And then I believe they play like the Commanders the last week of the season. But from here on out, the Cowboys have games against opponents that are 500 better. So we're really going to see kind of what they're all about. So take those stats that we were just talking about against all those bad teams, put them to the side, and let's see what they can do over this next stretch of 5 weeks. But I do think they're going to continue to dominate. Those numbers at home don't lie. as we talked about, I'm interested to see against better teams, but I think the Seahawks are more on the fraudulent side. I think we're going to look back in a few weeks and they're going to be 6-8 and on the outside looking in come playoff time. So I'm going to take the Cowboys at home to win again pretty easily. I'll go 31-14. So Cowboys minus 8.5 and another primetime under hitting there with the 46.5. We go to Sunday now. First game at the 1 o'clock slate on Fox. You have the 8-3 Lions coming off that loss to the Packers on Thanksgiving at the Saints, who are 5-6. The Lions are a 4-point road favorite here. Over under is 45.5. Can the Lions bounce back this week, Kev?
Yeah, I think they need a bounce back game here, and they have a great shot at it with the Saints. Derek Carr experiment in New Orleans has largely been a failure. He's played pretty average football, and he could also be without some key weapons this week. Michael Thomas is still on IR. Olave has a concussion, and Rashid Shaheed has a quad injury. Derek Carr has just not been playing good enough to elevate the offense by himself. And the Lions offense is still one of the best in the league, averaging over 405 yards a game, which is second to only the Dolphins in the league, who are averaging 430 right now. Jared Goff does have to play better and limit his turnovers. He's had a couple games now where he hasn't looked great and has been turning the ball over, but I think he turns it around here and the Lions get back on track in New Orleans. So I'm going Lions 24, Saints 17, Lions covering the 4, under 45.5 hidden.
Yeah, I talked about it last week. I thought that the Lions were due for a potential loss. I still picked them to win last week against the Packers, but after that game against the Bears where they looked like they got exposed a little bit and they had to have that pretty heroic comeback effort to just take down the Bears, I thought they might have been due for a letdown, and then the Packers go out there and give it to them last week. They laid that dud at home on Thanksgiving, chance to go to 9-2 or whatever it was, and they fell flat on their face last week. Can they bounce back? Will they let that loss kind of spiral? I'm going to go with the direction that they bounce back in this one. I feel like Dan Campbell is the type of coach that makes sure his guys are always ready to respond coming off adversity, especially a bad loss. I just think the Saints are a bad football team. They have the talent, but they never seem to be on the right page, as you were saying. It seems like they haven't been all healthy in the lineup at the same time, able to go get together at once. And Derek Carr has been a very up and down quarterback this year as well. Lions need this game pretty badly to stay in the mix for that 1 seed. And they have the chance to gain some ground on the Philadelphia Eagles as the 1 seed right now as well, if the 49ers do go into Philly and beat them. So it's a big game for the Lions. For the Saints, I think that division is going to come down to the final week with the Falcons. It's going to be like an 8-9, 9-8 team finding their way in. So the Saints lose this one, fall to 5-7. It's not the end of the world. So I think there's a bigger spot here for the Lions to bounce back, prove that they're still going to win that NFC North easily and still compete for that number 1 or number 2 seed in the NFC. So I'm going to take the Lions to bounce back in this one pretty nicely, 27-17. So I'll go Lions -4 and the under of 45.5. All right, third game of the week. Staying in the 1 o'clock window, we go to the AFC now on CBS. We have the 6-5 Broncos at the 6-5 Texans. Texans are a 3.5-point favorite. Over under is 46.5. The Texans bounce back from last week's loss to the Jags.
I'm going no. Broncos winning a close one, 20, Texans 17. So the Broncos covering 3.5 and the under 46.5. The Broncos are starting to figure some things out on both sides of the ball. On the defensive side of the ball, they're getting takeaways with 16 in their last 5 games, which is pretty crazy. And CJ Stroud has been turning it over as of recently after starting the year with, I think it was the longest streak ever for a rookie quarterback not throwing an interception, but he has 6 turnovers in his last 3 games. The Broncos offense are still not going to light up the scoreboard, but I think they'll be able to score enough here for the win. Russ has been playing really well when it matters, like in the red zone and on 3rd and 4th down. He is top 3 in quarterback rating in the red zone and on 3rd and 4th down. You always hear all the time about how important those facets of the game are, and Russ is playing just as good as anyone in the league in those situations. So I think Russ and Sean Payton figure out a way to win a close game here over a rookie QB and a rookie head coach.
Yeah, I think these are 2 of the surprise teams in the league this year. As we talked about for the past couple of weeks, no one expected the Texans to make much noise. And I don't think there are that much expectations for the Broncos. I thought maybe be around 500, maybe like a 7-10 team, have a chance to make the playoffs. But this is a team after a 1-5 start, they're riding a 5-game win streak, flirting with a playoff spot. So this is a good game for 2 teams that I think at the end of the day could be like two of those final three teams competing for those 6 and 7 spots in the AFC. I said last week I thought that the Texans would make the playoffs, and I still definitely think they have a shot. But if they want to, this is kind of one of those must-win games. Coming off a tough loss at home to the Jags, you can't let that spiral and have a Broncos team knock you off that could be fighting for like a tiebreaker spot with you come January. So I think this is a bigger spot for the Texans, and I also don't think that the Broncos are a team that's going to be able to go and win their 6th straight game in a row. The Texans have been very good at home too. They're 5-1 at home this year, so I'm looking for them to bounce back. And like I said, I don't think that the Broncos are good enough to find their way to 6 straight wins, especially getting this one on the road. So I'm going to take the Texans to win it outright, but I will have the Broncos to cover and the under of hitting. I'm going to go Texans 23, Broncos 20. So Broncos plus 3.5 and the under of 46.5. All right, the fourth game of the week and probably the best game on the NFL calendar, maybe the rest of the season, but definitely for this week. You have the 8-3 San Francisco 49ers at the 10-1 Philadelphia Eagles. 4:25 kickoff on Fox, rematch of NFC Championship game last season. Niners minus 2.5 in Philly, over or under 46.5. Do you think the Eagles will pull the underdog card again, Kevin?
I'm going no, unfortunately. I'm saying Niners 31, Eagles 27, Niners minus 2.5, over 46.5. The Eagles have been getting tested all year and really haven't broken at all besides just the horrible Jets game that they lost. Their last 3 games have been W's against teams that were probably favorites to win the Super Bowl coming into the season. You can point to a lot of things that are wrong with the Eagles, but they just win. It doesn't matter with Hurts and Sirianni. It seems like they always figure out a way to win, even if it's ugly, a little bit more ugly this year than what we got used to last year. But with that being said, this is the Niners, and the Niners are, I believe, the only team in the NFL that the Eagles should fear. I think they're the 2 best teams in the NFL, regardless of divisions and conferences. And the Niners are that good. I'm going to go with the Niners because I think it means a little bit more to them on a personal level here with what happened in the NFC Championship game last year. They're now healthy and they're going to be able to avenge that playoff loss. The Eagles had a bunch of highly anticipated matchups in the previous weeks, and I think it's just going to be hard for them to continue to get up for all these games. Some of the things that have played the Eagles at times this year, I think, end up catching up to them here with injuries, slow starts, turnovers, and an average defense at times. I think Brock Purdy plays well and gets the ball out quickly to all his playmakers, and the Niners win a close game.
Yeah, I know it seems like, as you're kind of touching on, the Eagles have had all these big games recently. They've been playing with their food a lot this year, including getting outgained by the Cowboys, the Chiefs, and Bills, trailing it all, and still finding a way to come back and win those games. So technically they might be, due for that loss, but I was still shocked to see them as a dog in this spot. If it was at San Francisco, I understand, but this one being in Philly, the Eagles should absolutely be favorites. And damn well inside that locker room, they're using this as bulletin board material all week, and they're going to take care of business. I think once again, the Eagles win this one. They should have the 1 seed and division all but locked up. They lose this one, though, that Cowboys game next week becomes massive, especially if the Cowboys knock off the Seahawks. The Eagles, if they lose these next 2 games, could fall to the 5th seed in the NFC before you know it. So I think this one's actually more important because it takes a little bit less pressure of that Cowboys game off the table, especially with this one being at home. And I just have a better feeling that they're going to be able to win this one in their building. As you said, this is like the 49ers Super Bowl after all the offseason noise and drama and complaints about how Brock Purdy was injured, how they would have beat us. The Eagles, I think, have heard that all offseason, have used that this entire offseason. And each and every one of these big games, you can say what you want, they haven't came out hot, but they've finished the game and they've gone and won, and they just seem to do it week in, week out. I said it last week, I'll say it again. It has just become flat out stupid to pick against this team, to bet against this team. They show up, they win, they move on. That's what the Philadelphia Eagles do. That's what Jalen Hurts does. And however you want to put it, they just find a way to win football games. So I think they're going to find a way to do it again this week, especially as a home dog. Give me that all day. Eagles 27, 49ers 23 will be my prediction. So Eagles plus a 2.5 in the over of 46.5 there. I love the Eagles at home in this spot. All right, our 5th and final game of the week, the 8-3 Chiefs at the 5-6 Packers, who have been coming on as of late. 8:20 kickoff on Sunday Night Football on NBC. Chiefs are a 6.5 point favorite at Lambeau here with the total at 42.5.
Yeah, I'm going Chiefs 27, Packers 23. So the Packers do end up covering the 6.5 over 42.5 hidden. The Packers had a great day on Thanksgiving, and Jordan Love played really well. But this is still the Chiefs. It's still Mahomes, Kelsey, Chris Jones on the defense side of the ball, Andy Reid, all of them. The Chiefs defense has been pulling a lot of the weight this year, and I think they do it again here, giving Mahomes plenty of chances to get points on the board. The Chiefs are still one of the best teams in the league, and I think it shows here against the Packers. I don't have a ton more to say than that. I think the Chiefs are just in a different class compared to the Packers.
Yeah, I alluded to it a little bit at the beginning, but shout out to the Packers and Jordan Love. That was a really impressive outing by him going to Detroit and right off the bat with that deep pass and then just finding a way to score and convert in the red zone a few times without Aaron Jones too. It's a team that I think if they can finish like 8-9, 9-8, maybe sneak in, get that 7 seed, it's going to give them a lot of faith in Jordan Love and kind of the direction of this organization going forward in the era past Aaron Rodgers. Love's been growing. Young pieces on both sides of the ball have been developing. Rashawn Gary looking like one of the better pass rushers in the league. Certainly something to build on. Getting that playoff berth, I think, would be a huge confidence boost for everyone in that organization. But when you look at the Chiefs, they're on the kind of opposite side. Win now team, absolutely, with Patrick Mahomes. Fell down 14-0 against the Raiders last week, but came back to win easy. They're kind of like the Eagles, where they can never really be counted out while trailing. They're always a team that you should be looking to maybe even live bet if they go down by 10 or more points. I think the Lions win was the best one of the season for the Packers. And I just think it's going to be hard to get up and get ready again for the Chiefs. I just don't think they're ready for this stage quite yet. So I'm going to take the Chiefs to win this one outright, but I will take the Packers to cover at home with another primetime under hitting. I'll go Chiefs 23, Packers 17. So Packers plus 6.5 and under a 42.5. All right, last two picks of the day, our dog of the day and our lock of the week. The dog of the day is our outright money line underdog winner. I'm going with the Eagles, plus 2.5, plus 130 on the money line. As I said, I think it's extremely disrespectful to make them a dog here at home. If it was in San Fran, I would understand it. But this is a spot where the Eagles are going to get up for this game. The fans are certainly going to get up for this game. I know they've had to give pretty much everything they had the past few weeks, but this is a spot they're not going to take lightly. If they want to get that number 1 seed and protect that division title, this is a game I think that they need to get. So I'm going to take the Eagles at plus 2.5 and plus 130 on the money line as my dog of the day.
My dog of the day, I'm going Broncos plus 3.5 or plus 154 on the money line against the Texans. I said it above. The Broncos are playing really well, and I think they can just handle the Texans here.
All right, and my lock of the week this week, I'm going Dolphins, minus 9.5 at the Commanders. Commander season's over. Just fired Jack Del Rio, the defensive coordinator. Wouldn't surprise me to see Ron Rivera out within the next couple of weeks as well. Dolphins have been playing really well. Earlier in the year when they kind of played some of those top-notch teams, they fell short a little bit, like against the Eagles, against the Chiefs. Now their defense has been playing a lot better since Jalen Ramsey's back. The offense is looking strong once again, and I think this is a spot where they can win this game. They're kind of like the Cowboys in that regard, where when they play these bad, inferior teams, they find ways to blow them out. So I think against the Commanders, who are really kind of bottoming out right now, I think the Dolphins minus 9.5 is a very safe bet. So I'm going to lock that in for my lock of the week.
Yeah, I like that one a lot too. Mine, I'm going Falcons minus 3 at the Jets. Falcons got into a little bit of a groove last week offensively. The Jets have no offense, and it looks like Rodgers might not even get the chance to come back now. So Falcons minus 3.
Yeah, I like that one as well. I'm also going to look at the Jets team total under, I think, for the rest of the year. That's a pretty good bet there as well. But that will do it for NFL Big 5 games of the week. The Week 13 edition, already into December by the time Sunday rolls around. So we're here. We're almost there at the playoffs. And I think the playoffs this year could be one of the best in recent memories. I think in each conference, you probably have 3 teams that could come out of it and represent and be some wars in the playoff game. So thank you, everyone, for listening. Please like, subscribe, and we will talk next week.